I love Bleach. It's one of my favorite arena fighters of all time. And I really want that to come across in this review. But the thing about reviews is that you also have to be objective. This is going to be a tough exercise of trying to keep my bias in check while at the same time letting people know how genuinely exciting Rebirth of Souls is. This is not going to be easy. I've been reviewing anime games for over 10 years as a YouTuber, but now I'm trying to become a verified reviewer on Metacritic, and for that, I need some good old-fashioned written reviews. This is my journey reviewing 50 games in 50 weeks, or until Metacritic accepts me. None of these are rushed. I'm only doing this on games that I've already finished and reviewed in the past, and back when this game came out, I said that I loved how unique the fighting system was in this arena fighter space, but also that it was lacking online features, and for how good the single-player side content was, story mode was boring as hell. I gave it a C back then, which would be a 6 out of 10. I'll tell you right now, that is way too low for how I feel about this game. I don't know how much better I will score it, but I also understand why I scored it so low back at launch, because when this game came out, it had issues. Back at launch, half of the cast had infinite combos, and that's because after a combo was over, you could not block on the first wake-up frame. So every character that could get in your face after a combo basically could just start that combo over again and again. There were a few other bugs, but this was the big one in my opinion, and it was clearly unintended because it only worked online. If you tried it offline, you could totally block on wake-up, no problem. That got fixed about 3 weeks after launch, but this problem of things working differently online and offline still persists to this day. This game's netcode isn't bad in the traditional sense. I mean, it is delay-based netcode, so it's not great. But the main thing I have against it is that they were never able to make the online work the same as the offline. If I do this with Kenpachi, this special is plus on block, but there's a gap. The opponent can flash step and counter me. There's a mind game being played, but online, this is just real, which means that with enough meter, I actually have a guaranteed guard break. Does Kenpachi need a nerf? No, offline it's fine. It just needs to match that version. You know, it's still bad, but definitely not as much as it was at launch. At least we don't have infinite combos now. And hey, to their credit, the reason why we know so much tech in this game is because this training mode is sick. One of the best in anime games ever. It actually looks like a fighting game training mode. Shoutouts to the team for giving us something that I've wanted in anime games for so long. The game also launched without ranked matches, so it was only casuals and lobbies. They added ranked post-launch, but then removed them again. Yes, the ranked matches button still exists, but you don't lose any points when you lose a match, and there's no rage quit penalties. They used to have real ranked matches, and now it's just a mode where you gain points and never lose. This isn't ranked, this is ego boosting for babies. And the lobbies still only hold up to 2 players, no spectator slots, and that's why the online features were lacking, and I would argue they are still lacking nowadays. And that's where this original score comes from. That's why this was a 6 out of 10, but it still feels too low to me because it's overlooking just how special this game's systems are. Many people will say this game is very slow, very stiff, but I kinda love that about it. It removes a lot of the randomness associated with anime games. It makes it a game where spacing matters, whiff punishing is real, and unique character traits really get to shine. This roster is incredible given how unique each character plays, full of mechanics and meters to manage sometimes. Everyone really has their own game plan, and the way they've translated some of these powers into the game is incredible. They even made Giant Bankai work somehow. Now I'll grant you that combo routes are a bit stiff, they don't allow for a lot of player expression. Every Ichigo player, for instance, is going to do the same combos. What changes is mostly how they play neutral and how they decide to spend their resources, which this game has a lot of those. I mean, look at all those bars. Not all of these systems are great. I don't love the Globku system, which are these stocks above the health bars. Each character can take a different amount of stocks depending on who they are and whether they have awakened or not. On paper it sounds awesome. It's another way characters get to be unique, giving you a reason to pick them or not, but over the course of this game it has always led to situations where you're encouraged to stall for time, where dying is optimal because it builds your fighting spirit, so then you can take more stocks in one go. Killing the opponent is a bad choice in some situations. Something DLC characters actually fixed, but we're reviewing the base game here, not the DLC characters. Plus, it's a game with a lot of interruptions. There are too many cutscenes, even if they look great. Every time you take stocks, there's a cutscene. Every time you awaken, there's a cutscene, and you can't even skip intros or victory screens. And still, despite all of that, if I'm just playing a game online or practicing for a tournament, I probably like this game more than Storm, than Demon Slayer, than My Hero, which might be a surprise for a lot of you, but that's just how much I enjoy playing this. Now, is it better than those games? That's a different conversation, because to talk about that, we gotta look at the content the game brings. starting with story mode. This is a huge story mode, about 25 hours playtime, covering more than 300 anime episodes, more than 400 manga chapters, one of the biggest story modes in anime game history, and it's so boring. I feel really bad saying this because there's a lot of work put into this mode. It's all voice acted, it's all animated, but the final result just wasn't worth it. The story is peak because Bleach is peak, but the game isn't doing it any favors, and it's probably because this animation feels super cheap. Maybe it's okay for someone who's never watched Bleach, the story itself will carry, but even then, I'd recommend watching the anime or reading the manga. The art is so much better there. The animation has its occasional level ups, some cutscenes are just a lot better all of a sudden, but these are also very rare and very short. I also like the occasional hand-drawn scenes. Even though the animation here was very minimal, the art is beautiful, it's stylish, but once again, most of the story is with this really cheap animation, and 25 hours of this was just really boring to me. Gameplay-wise, it's not just the versus battles, it does have a lot of those, but it tries to do some unique stuff once in a while, like fighting hollows. Now, normally I appreciate the variety, but fighting hollows is boring as hell too. They are slow, they're predictable, you just attack until you break their armor and block when they're about to swing. The entire fighting system loses a lot of what makes it special during these fights. They do have some unique skins for characters, like this Ichigo right here. It's not playable in versus or online, even though it kinda should. And there are also unique characters in story mode, like Yami or final boss Aizen. They have a complete moveset, or almost complete I should say, with animations and everything. And the fights are also way too easy unless you are going for optional objectives. Sometimes these are simple, they just require you landing a finishing move in 40 seconds or something, but other times they are a bit more unique, and going for these can be a challenge. But to me, the good single player content existed outside of story mode. Secret stories were awesome. Here you can see new original stories or new perspectives on events you know by picking any character you want. Each of them has about a 30-minute short story, and all of it is brand new to this game. It's an awesome expansion to the Bleach universe. So even though it uses the same budget animation I complained about in story mode, because we're actually getting new lore here, I didn't mind it as much. Also, it's not 25 hours, it's 30 minutes per character, so it feels a lot more manageable. Like, it didn't give me any time to get boring. And they did this for every playable character, and also Orihime, which really tells me they have plan to have her playable in the roster. These stories also have a lot more unique opponents. So many of the encounters feel better than simply playing story mode. And then there's also another side mode called Missions, which is kind of a survival game mode that I remember being really challenging when I played it at launch. At least if you want to go at it without any equipment. You can equip talismans and soul crystals if you want to buff your character in this mode. You unlock these as you play, and you level them up in the shop if I recall correctly. I haven't tried this game mode since launch, but I feel like Unohana is going to clear this easily. Because as you defeat your enemies, you will keep your health and the number of stocks, but also your fighting spirit. So if I use my first opponent to just go into sublimation, she's probably gonna speedrun the rest of them. Yeah, this was kind of a joke. But I guess when I was new to the game, this was a challenge. It helped me get better at the game. Now it feels like child's play to me, but hey, at some point, this was a fun game mode. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention how cool this game is. The soundtrack, the cutscenes, even the menus. It's full of style. I gave it the award for best style last year, and it remains one of the most stylish games I have ever played, anime or otherwise. I love looking and listening to this video game. So how the hell do I score this? It's one of my favorite anime games ever to play because of its systems. But because I love it so much, I know firsthand all of the problems it has. At the end of the day, this is a product that costs $60 and it must be reviewed as an overall package. So let's write it down. A genuinely great fighting game held back by an undercooked. The systems are some of the best the genre has to offer, but everything surrounding them isn't. I really wanted to give this an 8, but I gotta be honest, the package is still not quite there. I'm excited for a sequel if it ever happens, but that's gonna do it for today. As usual, you can check these reviews out on globku.com and let me know which game I should revisit next in the comments down below. And as always, thank you very much for watching. My name's Globku and I'll see you next time. Bye!